Hey, there it is. Right on. Hey, good morning. Good morning, Delmarva. Welcome to Coastal A&E. I'm your host, Michael Sprouse, grooving to this interesting, fun Chicago background music. Isn't that what that is? Right on. Hey, you're in the House of Sprouse. We're going to take a jump to the crave side of the surf, broadcasting live from the beautiful studios of TV Delmarva. Follow along on our Facebook page right now, actually, at facebook.com/TVDelmarva or facebook.com/CoastalAE. You can also go to TVDelmarva.com, which I highly recommend you do because you will see all this beautiful, wonderful TV Delmarva goodness streaming live right there on your television screen. All this is possible thanks to our amazing sponsors, the Residences, the Lighthouse Cove, Dewey Beach. Welcome to luxury living in Dewey Beach. More online at theresidencesde.com. The Sprouse Thomason Group, realtors affiliated with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Gallo Realty in Lewis, Delaware, and home to George Thomason, who was recently awarded Sussex County Association of Realtors 2020 Realtor of the Year. Thank you for that hand there, Mr. Bell. More online at isellthebeach.net. Inspections guaranteed. An authorized dealer of On-Guard Systems. Go from home inspection to home protection. Learn more online at inspectionsguaranteed.com. And to the Closet Works. Owner Earl Schmidt will be happy to explain to you how the Closet Works is the only closet company on Delmarva offering the exclusive curved hanging system with no wasted space and a walk-in closet. The Closet Works. Your life will organize. More online at Facebook. Search for Closet Works DE/MD. Whew. We are taking calls or texts at 302-491-6484. Let me quickly explain before I introduce my guest, who really needs no introduction. But if there's a little bit of confusion possibly because actually on the radio today on 105.9 FM, there is a repeat of this show because there's some Wi-Fi issues which are being worked out, which will be worked out soon. But we are live here on TV Delmarva and on Facebook, which is a lot of fun. We're very excited about that. And I've got Mr. Bell, Michael Bell, my man Michael Bell here in the House of Sprouse.
Always a pleasure to be in the House of Sprouse.
Right on, man. It's good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for coming here today. It's been so you last year. I mean, you've been on this show enough. You're sort of like a co-host of mine. When I pull you on, we were super close friends. Have been friends for close to 20 years, and it's always fun to have you here. You are an acclaimed visual artist. You are an award-winning, nationally recognized arts education specialist, and more. Welcome, man. It's good to see you.
Oh, it's great to be here. It seems like every. I was looking back on past shows that we had done together. It seems like it runs in these cycles, and I think since you started the show, every February I've been here right before Valentine's Day.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
At that. Yeah.
That's good to know.
It is.
Wonder why that's not just some strange little fluke.
Some
I don't know why.
cyclical thing that we come together, and it's a beautiful thing.
It's a good thing. Yes. Well, it's it's a February. It's just a good time of year. It's actually sort of spring-like out there this morning.
It is.
Which is nice.
I'm excited, and it's been an exciting year so far. I mean, the year has kicked off like fireworks.
Yeah, man.
It really has.
Because you are very good at posting all the many projects that you're involved in. You do a very good job of sharing it out there.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's all about growing and giving. I mean, that's the two things I've really been focused on. And when you can celebrate the great things that are happening, even better. We've had, in my new supervisor position over in Queen Anne's County, and I lost my feed.
I did too. Hey, we're just going to keep talking because I can't hear anything right now in our headsets, but we're good.
Totally lost the feed.
So you were doing what in Queen Anne's County?
Yeah, so taking over as a new supervisor of visual and performing arts, world languages, school library media, service learning, you name it. We've been championing all the great work that's happening in all these different arenas. And we've had a first place statewide winner in visual arts. We just had statewide winners in media.
Wow.
We brought the Seal of Biliteracy to the World Languages program, which is another huge statewide accomplishment. So we have just been rocking and rolling, and it's been so dynamic and so exciting.
Yeah, right on. That's exciting, very exciting. So when you say state, you're talking about Maryland, right?
I'm talking about the state of Maryland,
yeah,
yes. Even though we're over in Delaware right now.
Yeah.
I'm talking.
Well, you actually you are a Delmarvian, right?
Well,
is that right?
I consider myself one by you only. You know, by our friendship, and I think being successful in life is about who you associate with and who you surround yourself with too. And you and I, as you know, I mean, identity has taken on many different shapes and forms.
It has, yeah. We have a very interesting, many different chapters, you know, in what we've done professionally together, also personally his friends, and that's an exciting thing. So I know that's one of the. I know when you're working with these students. So you went, just for people that may not know, you spent many years as an art educator yourself.
Correct.
And you really, you took that to the nth degree. You did incredibly well. You had student after student after student who achieved great levels of success under your guidance.
Absolutely, some of the best in the nation. I mean, my record in education is unprecedented. I have no problem touting out the great work that was done there in that chapter of my life. And that's the interesting thing, just when you think life has defined you. And I always thought at one point in my career I would be known as the artist. At another point in my career, you thought you'd be known as the teacher. And now in the supervisory role, I think it's very important to also stay in the trenches. I mean, just Friday, just the other day, I got a call from a teacher, said, would you please mind stopping in with your suitcase filled with visual journals and share some inspiration with my kids to teach them how this process works. And so I said, sure, absolutely. And so there I was, and I put it on my Instagram, MBell Art feed, so people could see a little 1-minute clip of that. But there I was, sharing this inspiration, showing what visual journaling looks like to those kids. So I'm still in the trenches with them, and I believe that you need to be. I think it's important to it keeps you grounded. It keeps you knowing what's really going on out there too.
Yeah,
so
right on.
You
you
feel the
also,
pulse of everything.
I've noticed that you've been in the studio yourself, man.
I did. Well,
you're painting again, which is nice.
It was funny. The last time that we talked on the air about this, you said I haven't painted it.
That's true.
So long.
It's been a long time.
So I'm kind of disassociating myself with that for the time being, and I'm moving into this other creative realm. Well, for me, I mean, that kind of inspired me too, because I said, you know what, if I want to keep promoting the message to all of my art teachers under my cadre that stay an artist, I have to lead by example and do it myself.
Absolutely. No, it makes total sense. It makes total sense.
March 21st, I set up through Rick Stripmater our first ever faculty art show for the entire district. So all the art teachers are going to have to come out and bring their best work, and they'll be able to put it up for sale. So I stepped up behind the easel and started painting again. It's been the first time in about a year and a half. And
nice. How did it feel?
It felt tremendous. I mean, it brought me back to my childhood, the days of, drawing, as and inspired from a very young age to be an artist. Working with my grandmother even at a very early age. She was a self-taught artist from Lyndhurst, New Jersey, and it takes me back to my childhood doing that. So I love it.
Well, you and I have had we've had it together, the pleasure of painting with each other, literally right next to each other in the studio. It's very different than what it is here. We're not painting in our coats and ties. It's really sort of a crazy environment when you're painting in the studio. And they would stay up all night, and it was but so enjoyable. That one-on-one, with the canvas.
Absolutely. And talking about growing together, growing and learning. I learned so much from you, just being with you in the studio and collaborating with you and seeing what you would bring to the table, what part of the process that you brought, and how I could enhance that process. So it's about constantly fueling that journey and constantly learning and growing.
Yeah, right on. It absolutely is that. But you also, I know that you instill that in your students. Well, they're not technically your students anymore. But, you know what I mean? You're working with young people.
Absolutely. Well, and just the other day, I had this conversation with Jenna Hauser, who's a statewide award winner, who she recently just exhibited in a small works show that opened at the Queen Anne's Arts Council just yesterday, Friday. And I had a conversation with her. I said, don't get discouraged if your work doesn't win every award. You've achieved some success, which is, some people can never say that they've done what you've accomplished already. But achievement is one thing, but I told her, stay grounded in the process, because if you're constantly just in search of winning this, you'll never achieve full fulfillment. You might achieve that goal, but are you satisfied then?
True.
And at the end of the day, you have to really just fall in love with the process and be loving the journey and appreciate the little moments along the way. Like even the conversation I was having with her the other day, like appreciating that moment, being able to have that conversation so that maybe one day when if she hits a roadblock, like many of us in arts, it goes through these fluctuating waves, like many of us do, she'll keep going. And I think that's important to push through that, because there really is no there. You constantly, once you reach there, you want something else, and you want to keep that.
Right on. Well, we've had you brought up a good point just a second ago. If you're creating work specifically because you're trying to win a prize, you're trying to win that recognition, and really when you, as you just said, you sort of step out of the process at that point, because I know that we've had this conversation where we have known artists, visual artists, that are painting for a show, and they're not painting, let's say, necessarily for the work. They're painting because they want to see the people's reaction to the work. They're like, oh, they're going to love this.
Correct.
And what happens is that originality or whatever it is that makes that work unique often gets left off of the process.
Absolutely. And if you're focused on the product, if you're only focused on the product, and that was the interesting thing. Coming in as a new supervisor in Queen Anne's County, I noticed that for many, many, many years, it had been very product driven. Our teachers were very technically proficient. They could teach technique. But the bigger conversations surrounding concepts and what is this work really about? Why are you even doing this? Those conversations weren't being had everywhere. And so they were even more difficult. We just brought AP Art and Design to the district for the very first time in the history of Queen Anne's County. And that requires 15 works as a sustained investigation, like the many thematic series work you and I would always create. And it was always about something. And so for us, we knew it, and we always knew what our work was about. Our work always had deep meaning for us, and we were satisfied with the production of that work, because we were in love with the process and bringing something to creation from nothing. I mean, as artists, as you know, who can say that they can do that?
That's true. It's magic, sort of.
I mean, you create, like literally, you create something from nothing.
True.
There's not a lot of people in this world that can say they can do that. Artists and entrepreneurs do. And so...
Well, it all started last night. Jordan Gibson, of course, who's a videographer, editor that I work with, and he's phenomenal. And he and his wife Brittany, with Odyssey Narratives, we were talking last night about painting and about film and about and what it boiled down to was the communication aspect of your art.
Absolutely, it's all about, okay, so what am I creating? What is it of? But at the end of the day, what is it really about?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah. Because well, I'm known for these very narrative portraits.
Yes,
you've done several portraits that are also very
haunting narrative portraits of.
And so I realized in this conversation last night that one of my inspirations, they were film stills almost. I mean, like I was looking at you would take a cell from an old 8mm film, and I'm doing a painting. In effect, that is of that nature, because of course a film is telling a story. A good film tells a story. Yeah,
it was funny when I stepped up behind the easel the other night for the first time in, like I said, over a year.
Yeah,
and I started the process. And my process was, I have an image just like you, which it's a rough image that I have in mind for a starting point. It's not the end product. I'm not after trying to copy something so it looks just like this. So I brought my son in, and I wanted him to share in this process so he would really understand if he ever wanted to create, because he can actually draw pretty well.
Sure, I'm sure he can.
Yeah. So I had him helping me.
Man.
Yeah. So I had Carmen helping me, and he was working out in the charcoal, rough sketching, drawing it out, and I said, this is the process for me, son. I said, it may not be for you, but for me, I lay it all out in charcoal, very rough. I said, then I start adding in layers of meaning, and that's what I consider them, layers of meaning, because I'm building an accumulation of an experience up, and hopefully the arrival point is when it's finished and I become the audience, where I can sit back and say,
yeah, now this is it.
That
Because people
communicates
always say,
something.
how do you know when the painting is done? I mean, everyone, that's a totally fine question. But we get that a lot from non-visual
Absolutely.
artists, and because people they want to know, when do you know how to stop painting? Especially if you're doing, so a traditional painting would maybe be easier. Like you're doing someone's portrait, they've commissioned you to do a portrait, you would know to stop when.
If there's a likeness, if there's
and it works. But if you're doing something much more representational, something more contemporary, then you stop when you just sort of know.
Yeah, it's a feeling. It's a feeling, and I think as artists, that's what helps fuel what it is that we do. Because I mean, as you know, for knowing me for many years, I operate only on feel. I don't operate based on what's selling. I don't operate based on what the market is. I don't operate even in my current job based on exactly what the data is telling me. I need to feel it. If it feels right, I'm going to keep going with it. If it doesn't feel right, I'm going to abandon that and I'm going to stop immediately, no matter what.
That's good advice in life in general. You know, that's a good thing. You have to really trust that instinct.
Absolutely, I trust mine implicitly. It's gotten me to where I am today. And the beautiful thing about for our teachers teaching children the craft, so to speak, is that they have that childlike belief in them still, where they have big dreams and big aspirations. And I believe that we need to show them what it looks like to be an artist. And that's why I keep spreading that message to stay an artist, because if the kids see it, and they even see our teachers as artists, not as their art teacher, but as artists, as somebody who's a professional in their field. Like just recently, Lori Hegelke, who is a world language department chair over at Kent Island High School, she presented at a national conference, and I brought her out to present at the state level, and so that she can take that back into her classroom and show her kids, I'm a professional in my field. This is what we do.
Yeah.
So it's so important
Excellent.
to show somebody what it looks like. They need to visualize it. My boxing trainer, Neil, he used to say it to me all the time about my son. He is, it's not what you tell him, it's what he sees. And it's
well,
so
that's
true.
a good point, man. That's a very good point. Absolutely, right on. So when you were teaching, it was definitely visual art, but now you're the supervisory.
Now, it's all over.
It's
Everything.
performing art, language, written arts, right?
Yeah, performing arts. We just had a first state dance award winner in a long time. It was only the third in the district's history. Amber Wright, the dance teacher at Kent Island High School, had Gabby Pfeiffer won the all-state dance. We had 2 all-state musicians for both of our bands. Mr. Wright and Miss Mogensen are rocking the house with bands that have over 150 kids in their band programs, respectively. I mean, there's exciting stuff happening, and I'm happy to champion it and put it out there for the public to see, and that's what I've been doing, putting it out there, putting it in people's faces, doing what I do best.
Yeah,
as you know, we've been doing that for years.
Yeah,
you have to be your own best PR agent as an artist too.
Well, that's true. One of the things when you and I first met a zillion years ago, one of the things that we knew immediately that we had in common was that we both realized we have to do our own PR. We have to create this whole media thing, and we both learned, fortunately, how to do it ourselves, because a lot of times, especially if you're working in the arts and if you're a young struggling artist, you don't have the wherewithal to pay someone to do that. It's much easier now to have an online presence than it was when we got in the business 25 plus years ago, when literally the internet didn't exist. It was just the very beginning phases.
Only now it's oversaturated, and it's also we're also in a different culture where people are equating quality to likes and things like that, and that's just not even the case, and it's not even real. You know what I mean? And ultimately, staying true to who you are and staying true to your beliefs and continuously seeking out growing, I mean, that to me is what's most important. When we were talking earlier about surrounding yourself with people that are successful, I think it's also surrounding yourself with the right people at a certain point in time in your life that you need them there for too.
Sure.
You and I are steady rocks. We'll always be in each other's lives, and that's important to us because our friendship runs so deep. But also, I mean, you think about it, when I was writing a book, I surrounded myself with other authors so I could learn, how does this process even work? When our son was battling through stuff in school. As you know, it just so happened for coincidentally, but I was surrounded at that point in time by fighters, and so you surround yourself with the people that you need in your life to keep propelling you forward. So if you want to be an artist and you want to propel yourself that way, or whatever it is, I think everyone needs to constantly seek out whatever they can do to grow and to give. Because if you're growing, I mean, there's nothing more satisfying for yourself, but also if you're giving back. If you're giving, I mean, to me, I love giving back. At this stage of my career, to be able to give back and celebrate by giving other people this spotlight, it's so rewarding. I love that.
I agree.
You need that. It gives you fuel, gives you juice.
And that's inspiring for younger people in the creative fields.
Sure. Well, they're at that age where, no dream is too big. And why would you even want to squash that? There isn't a dream that's too big. I mean, you look at some of the kids that studying under me. Some of them are at the top in the art world right now.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Louis Fertino, Katie Emmett. I mean, there were some of the rock stars. Sienna Broglie. She's up at the School of Art Institute in Chicago doing amazing things. I could go on and on. There's a laundry list of them. It's so exciting when I see them out there doing creative things in the field, whether they're gallery artists or whether they're just doing something creative. There's no bigger thing than the value of having an imagination.
I agree, but you mentioned something. I know we're going to get a break here in about 2.5 minutes.
Hopefully we can fix this sound.
We're going to, so we can actually
it's
hear
really
each
weird
other.
Talking through this muffled.
People can hear us though, which is good.
Well, that's good.
But when we come back, at some point in the next hour and a half, I want to talk about, as you mentioned, what's online isn't really reality often in connection to the arts. I should say that the younger people that are and I think it would be good for them to make that distinction, to realize that, as you said, you stay true to your own process, your own work, and don't.
Well, people come first. It's people, then the process, and then comes the product. People come first, and the relationships that you form, that's what's going to make your career. I mean, look at us here, 20 years later.
Yeah.
And how did that begin? It began with a little spark online where we recognized each other and saw each other online for each other's work. But it was me taking that step to come into your gallery and meet you face to face for us to be able to form a relationship. And that's what, for kids out there, forming the face-to-face relationships is the most important thing that you could possibly do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because I think I wonder if it gets lost in the social media shuffle. The whole face-to-face communication, one-on-one. Here we are, talking, interacting with each other. It
does. And that's what's so important. I mean, when I was getting started with my art career, if you look back on it, and I had posted a couple things on the Instagram feed so people could see some of the appearances that I did with the Sopranos and some painting unveilings, and that's great and all. But those people didn't all of a sudden just start collecting my work out of the blue. I mean, I had to form relationships with these people and get to know them on a personal level, just so when they're my portrait clients, I would be able to bring their soul to the surface of a canvas.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just paint their likeness, paint who they really are inside.
Yeah, true. Because anything else becomes sort of empty.
Yes.
Without that element.
That's it. And as artists, we're trying to put something into the world as opposed to just stealing something out of it. And so that's what's more important, I believe.
Right on. Yeah, good. Well, listen, we got 30 seconds. I think when we come back, Rob Waters is hopefully somewhere here in the House of Sprouse. We're going to talk about the Academy Awards 2020.
Talk film.
Yeah, we like that subject. Yeah, you and I have each had our own interesting experiences in film and even a bit of Hollywood there. And Rob is a very acclaimed filmmaker. I'm looking forward to that. He should be here at some point soon. He may be out there already. Because the Academy Awards are tomorrow, man.
Are they?
Yeah. I can tell you're very excited about it.
Very excited about it. I don't have much time to watch TV these days.
The Sprouse Thomason Group, where coastal leisure finds its home. Realtors affiliated with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Gallo Realty. For more than a decade, people in the know have relied on the weekly coastal Delaware Market Watch. Sign up today at isellthebeach.net. The This is the.
What's this?
I like. So every time we go into the second hour of Coastal A&E, this little jazz. You know this.
I know this.
I like it because I was like, oh, we need martinis and shopping sprees and escalators
lot
in New
looser,
York
man.
City.
As we're talking about old Hollywood.
That's
right?
it, man. This is it. Dun 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 dun. I like that. Get my chill vibe going.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Very cool.
Oh my god, that's a great story. I love stories like that. We have lots of crazy stories.
We do.
Yeah,
Lots
some of them we can't really talk about.
Well, and for years as an artist, we used to try to paint them out. For me, that would be where I would be able to. That's why I asked you that question. Are you going to do anything with it cinematic? You know, with
Right, what you
it
know.
is. Exactly, because I mean, for me, that's what I used to do with my paintings. They're very narrative, and one painting would, tell one story, but when it was connected to another painting, it would enlarge that story into a much greater cinematic world. So they were almost like, a lot of my paintings almost like film stills.
Yeah, same. Yeah, but that was one of the things that we would sit around and talk. We talked about that. They were very influenced by cinema, without a doubt.
Absolutely, and I think it's all about the fact that we're as artists, we are the greatest storytellers there are.
Right on. That's right.
Artists, authors.
That's right. The greatest
I am the greatest story. Yeah,
that's right. I think we got a caller on the line. Hey, good morning. You're on Coastal A&E.
Hello, Michael Sprouse. This is Suzette Chambers.
Oh, hey, Suzette. How are you? Thanks for calling in. Are you calling in for the tickets by any chance?
I couldn't help myself. I wanted to see that play so bad.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
And I might as well. Nobody else, I beat everybody else to the phone.
That's right.
There you go.
Good save there, Suzette. Hey, I'm really glad that's going to be a great set. Well, because you were here last week on the air when the cast was here.
And it sounded like a phenomenal play. So.
Phenomenal. Thank you very much. Well, they'll be there waiting for you.
I won? Did I win the tickets?
Oh, you definitely won the tickets, without a doubt.
Congratulations.
You beat out all the other callers.
It was a really tight race, man. It was tight.
Think of all the angry, disappointed people now.
I know.
But Suzette won. Very, very
sorry, caller 3.
She's weeping with joy. Can you hear her? She's like, see, I told you.
Did she secretly write down the bat number when she was?
That was it. She's like, in fact, she just left with the bat. So she stuck with her person. She ran out of the studio.
Somebody sitting on hold.
This is all just protocol. It's all just protocol.
Angry.
So when are my tickets good for?
Tonight, and tonight only, actually. Yes, it's the last. You get them tonight. So thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. It's good hearing your voice.
I have enjoyed. I've been trying to watch the show as much as I can. I'm working a little bit today, but I have enjoyed. I've never met Michael Bell.
Oh, you
but
haven't?
I know he's one of your good friends.
Yes. And Rob Waters.
Have
you met Rob Waters? I don't know if you've met Rob before or not. Suzette Chambers, maybe not, but you all will meet. So
I thought I met Suzette once.
I think you did once.
When you were doing theater, and I showed up for one of your rehearsals.
Yes, that's right. That was Len.
I thought I might have met her.
You did, I think. That was years ago.
Yeah,
it was either Len.
Long show, I hope.
No, please say it wasn't the Christmas. No, was I in a Santa fat suit?
It wasn't that one because I definitely would have.
You remember that one?
I definitely would have some footage of that.
Yes.
And posting it right now.
There's a grainy photo floating around somewhere. That was not the show, Susan.
No,
it was good.
I'm sure we'll meet her someday.
That's all right.
Regardless.
Thank you, Suzette. I really appreciate it. I'll be seeing you soon.
Okay, great. Well, you guys, I'll be listening to the rest of the show.
Thank you. Enjoy the show tonight. Tell them I said hello.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, no, the Santa fat suit, that's another story for another. I always tell that story around Christmas time. It's a fun little ditty about a terrible production that Suzette and I were in once. Terrible production.
I swear.
I actually have had good stage experiences, but there's no fun to talk about those. You always want to talk about the crazy things.
Are we talking like Waiting for Guffin bad?
Well, I mean, why not? We got time. We got 13 minutes. It was when the Clear Space, before Clear Space became Clear Space, there was a different theater group, the Rehoboth Beach Theater of the Arts, and they were always like, we got to put on a show, we got to put on a big holiday show so we can sell tickets, that type of crazy. Everyone knows how it is. And they my friend Hugo Immediato Jr., whose family had a very successful dinner theater out of Wilmington for generations, they had an old Christmas show shoved in the back. Oh, we got the script. All we need are some performers. And you can do this, right,
Nice.
Sprouse? You can be Santa. And so I was Santa Claus, and I was also a World War II era GI singing I'll Be Home for Christmas in one scene, which was interesting. But as soon as that was over, I'd run backstage, put on this fat suit and a Santa suit, run out the theater, around, through, up the auditorium, down the middle of the proscenium, throwing candy and shouting ho, 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 and getting up on stage and dancing this number. It was a disaster. And it's icy and snowy. I'm wearing these cheap plastic fake boots, and this little kid sees me and he wants to run over to Santa Claus, and I've got like 30 seconds to like get back on stage, and I'm like trying to be nice. I'm like, kid, no, I gotta go. That it was just a disaster.
So you pushed the child to the ground is what
get
you're
out of my way, kid. I got places I gotta go.
You crushed some poor kid.
I did. I know. I've always felt terrible about that kid. Like, Santa's busy, kid. I gotta like run. Might as well just had a smoke and a Jack Daniels with me. But it was crazy. It was a crazy production, and Santa can't dance very well.
So you were the Santa from
in a
hell.
fat suit. I was Santa from hell. Merry Christmas.
From the
Anyway,
movie.
that was just
That's
one
right.
of many crazy. I'm sure Suzette's probably cracking up right now. She was very good. She's always very good.
So is that the type of role where we talk about staying?
Yes, staying true to our art.
Stay working.
That's the kind of role when you're like, hey, we need a Santa Claus.
I
It was
need a
really that
paycheck.
type of crazy thing. Anybody could have been in that show. I mean, if you were walking down the street looking for a parking spot, you could have ended up in that show. It was one of those crazy shows. You just never know how it's going to happen.
Way to stay an artist. There.
That's
There
right.
you go.
Just take all of our wonderful works and
working.
throw them right out the window. That's okay. We got 11. So we gave away tickets. We were talking about all different types of things. I think maybe one day we could all do a project together. You and I are very
short
good about
film
doing
would be
projects
fun,
together.
yeah.
We've done a lot of
Well,
great projects together.
And I love shooting video as well.
You do. You were one of the first people, actually, that introduced me to using that as promotional 20 years ago.
material, yeah.
And you and I don't know if we did a fundraiser for the Milton Theater years ago when the theater was still pre-renovation, that we did my little art
we
gallery,
helped
and
get
we
that-
had a blast.
we helped get that thing going again.
We sure did. Yeah, there was a different person in charge at the time, but
Yeah.
they were amazed. I remember that we created
Was
this
this like
production.
the last one that failed? There's like a whole new run. There was one that
this
failed,
was-
it closed down for a while, kind of deal.
This is before it closed down.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
that's
right before.
Because I know they tried before. and
Yeah,
didn't.
the woman I remember her name, but I'm not going to say just because I don't, But there was a woman that was in charge at the time, and I think it was just too much. Remember the woman, and
Sure.
we said, here's what we're going to do. We love this theater.
We
We
will
tied it
help
into
you
a show.
keep it-
Absolutely,
yeah.
and I think she didn't realize the
magnitude of what we were bringing
Correct.
to the table. Like I got some of my actor friends to get signed scripts from CSI Miami, Sopranos. They mailed those up.
That's cool.
For auction. I sold prints of my artwork.
we did
had
paintings
dual signings
specifically
and-
for this event.
We raised a lot of money that
We
night.
did, and
That's
it was
great.
a big event. It was a lot of fun. Yeah,
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of people there.
long time ago. Anyway, the theater's doing very well. It's thriving now.
Yeah, it's doing great.
Yeah. Who knows? You never know. Maybe it's something to do with.
I don't know. I mean, I'm on the board. I could
know.
bring you guys in again.
Man, I would love to do. I'm all about let's put on a show or do something.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's important, to keep things like that alive. I mean, they're staples in their communities for a reason, and
Correct.
you need to keep all these different creative outlets going.
Absolutely. Well, we've all, I think, have had this conversation, but certainly Rob and I have because of the local connection to it.
Sure.
But we're fortunate here in this area that we have a great performing arts community.
Yeah, we
have
do.
a great visual art community. We have a great live. A lot of places don't have that because for whatever reason they're disjointed or whatnot. But there's 4 major community theater and 1 professional theater companies within 20 miles of each other here.
It's
You
kind of
know?
amazing what Sussex County has to offer.
Yeah, but a lot of
surprised.
it's only really has been within the last 15 years that it's
Yes.
really started to, you're part of that. I'm part of that. You're when we're together doing things, you've certainly been part of it.
Well, there's just such a migration down here from because I grew up in Wilmington, and
Mm-hmm.
we're all moving down here to this area. So
Sure.
we're bringing all of our baggage with it.
You'll wake up tomorrow and be 55 plus. I'm telling you.
I mean, I feel like I already kind of looked
you're a
that
young
anyway.
man, but I was like, well, you
I
got
already got the
that
gray hair
crazy
to go with it.
Grizzly Adams beard thing
Yeah.
going on. It's okay. No, you're still a very young man. But that is the thing that's happening here. I was having that conversation last night. the whole 55 plus thing is really valid here, because what you're having are people that are moving here from Baltimore, DC, all the areas that are retiring. They have these great successful careers, and they want to come to the beach and retire. And when they get here, they want cultural events.
Well, sure. And, you know, what I'm trying to do in Queen Anne's is really rebrand and repackage a lot of the great things that have been done, and in addition, bring a lot of new stuff to the table.
Absolutely.
And we have been, and it's been like fireworks going off. Like, we have that huge ArtScene show that kicked off last year. It was the very first one. We kicked off, it was the very first visual arts show, K through 12, all-inclusive, professionally juried, held them at both high schools in the district on different nights but the same week. So it really kicked off like a week of the arts, and it was amazing. This year it's April 21st. He's kicking off at Queen Anne's County High, and April 23rd at Kent Island High.
Right on.
And it's going to be tremendous again. It's just going to keep growing. But that's what it's about. It's about bringing the arts to the community, and in a place that, you know, like kids, for example, a kid in elementary school is going to have work in that show possibly, and they'll form a connection to the school and to the community in a way that before they even step foot in that building as a student.
Right.
So that's what it's about.
I don't know how, but God, I would need more than 1 hour to talk about all the accomplishments that you had when you were the thing that you started the school.
Well, you build off what you know, and I had done this before, so I know what it looks like. I could see it, and that's kind of what we were talking about.
But I would love to have something like that here, that you could somehow be. I have no idea how that would work, but I'm just putting it out there in the universe, because we could use it without a doubt.
Well, I think, and that's a matter of locally, if your community's listening, and if your art departments are listening, or your supervisors in the area are listening, have them come out so they could see it. You know, it's going to be from 5 to 8 p.m. at April 21st and 23rd at both those schools. See what it looks like. I mean, if they see what it looks like, then maybe they could be inspired to sell
That's a great idea.
Because
great idea.
My teachers, I mean, I give them all the credit in the world for what they're doing, because they went off the cliff with me. I had this idea that I brought to the table. They couldn't picture it. They didn't know what it looked like other than video clips that I showed them. Look, this is what it could be.
Sure.
And they exceeded my expectations. I mean, they just blew it up.
Yeah, we should see if we can find a way to start a fire for that.
Well, and that's what it is. It's about sparking a fire. It's about selling the sizzle, and all of a sudden that spreads, you know, and all of a sudden people are talking about all these amazing things happen in the visual performing arts, all these different arenas.
Right on. I would love to see the same type of value of importance put on the arts in the school system that is put on, let's say, sports, for example, which I love sports. I do, you know, and I'm a football fan. I love it, but there's an inequality there.
Well,
there's a chasm.
It's how, but you know what? It's how you sell it.
Well, I know. See, and you did such a great
in Queen Anne's County before I got there, but now there's not. Now we compete with the sports programs. I mean, you see, look it up in the newspaper. Every other article is about the arts now.
Sure.
And why is that? Because I'm promoting it. Because I'm taking the time to come on air with you and even spread the word further on a Saturday. I mean, this is what it's about.
Absolutely. No, I one of the reasons, the tools that I love that what I'm doing here is because we're able to give voice to those elements.
Absolutely.
It is getting better. Like, the school districts are getting much stronger around here. I mean, where I live in Lewis, it's considered the best school district in all of Delaware. Now, it's Delaware. It's small. But of all of Delaware, Cape is considered the best.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. I do know that they're, for probably funding, for a variety of reasons, that the arts
always gets the short end of the stick.
Well, it's all about what you do with it, though. It's like we talked about the last time I was on the air with you. It's not about your lack of resources. It's about your lack of resourcefulness. I mean, I always went out on the street and got the money and did things that raised awareness. And
shook the tree, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's really what it comes down to, is who's willing to do the work.
Sure.
Who's willing.
They also have the theater at the high school is by far one of the best live performance venues in the state, without a doubt. I was stage manager there for a couple of years, in one of my many hats, and that theater is top notch. It really is spectacular.
It is.
theater.
That school district has become something pretty amazing. Because
Yeah.
it was not when I was growing up. It was. It was.
That's good to hear.
That was fine. Yeah, it's good. Great theater. Great theater. Well, we have 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. You guys got any closing words before we're done here for the day on TV Delmarva? For the people listening out there, we've had a few hundred people that have been on today, sort of watching the show on and off, which is nice.
I'd say just keep.
In my opinion, that's what that number means. So I'm going to
Keep
say
growing,
yes.
keep growing and keep giving,
There
growing
you
and
go.
giving.
Right.
Giving back, doing big things, but then finding a way to help somebody else out too. I mean, you can get your juice that way by elevating somebody else.
Right on. What's the best way for people to find more about you and your work? mbellart.com?
mbellart.com. That's got all my, even my social
All
circles,
there.
but it's got all my artwork on it and my paintings. And
I want people to go there. They'll just be wildly impressed. And which is true. I'm not making that up. It's all true. Rob, W Films, how's everything?
Everything is great, man. I'm working as much as humanly possible. And
Glad to hear
working
it.
on a new short film, hopefully soon.
Excellent.
The script is done, so hopefully
Nice.
what's it about? Do you want to give?
Well, okay. Actually, I started a series last year just because it gets really tough to write a script and get all that going in one when I'm as busy as I am. So I started a series where I have this one table at Kindle, and I have like a new script every year, just a little play in that table. So there's going to be the same table. The table's the same, the director's the same, but there's going to be different actors and writers every year. So I have like 6 scripts just in the waiting, just figuring out which one I want to do. So that is
Nice.
in that same environment.
that's that one place every time. So it's a little
That's
play.
very cool.
And then, half hour? How long are the films? Shorter?
I try to keep them like 10 minutes.
Okay, right on.
Like a little play. Sometimes they're longer, but for the most part,
That reminds me of, it's interesting. It's an old film, and it's a very obscure film. I don't know if you've seen it. I believe it's called Smoke with Harvey Keitel.
Oh, yeah, that's a great film.
Yeah, totally.
So it reminds me of where he used to go across the street from his bodega and snap a photograph of his building, the exterior of the building, every day at the same time of day, no matter if it was snowing, sleeting, raining. And what the interesting thing was that would happen is there would be these narratives that would start to develop over taking thousands and thousands of pictures over the years, where you'd see certain people coming and going each time in the photos, and then all of a sudden they wouldn't be there anymore. That creates its own narrative. Well, what happened to them? Captured fights happening in front of it, captured all these different changes in the people that would be.
That's cool, man.
That's a great. I forgot about that
interesting,
film.
yeah.
That was a really interesting element. Really, very.
It had a very artistic
It did,
element to
yeah.
it that most people weren't expecting.
That was sort of a sleeper. It was a great movie.
It was a sleeper movie, but it was a
I
really
think they made
interesting element of it.
a different follow up as well. I
Not
think.
sure.
I think it was
I'm
a
not sure.
Smoke 2. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
But I like that.
Smoke 2 and 3. Yeah, smoke them if you got them. Sorry about that. I'm just rambling now.
Well, it's about finding stories. I mean, each of us
Yes, that's right.
has a story to tell, and
That's
it's so
right.
important to share it.
There's the
There it is.
outro
There it
music.
is.
The time
You
has
had to
flown
sign
by,
off and
gentlemen.
smoke them if you got them.
That's right.
That's your sign off, man.
That's
Been a pleasure as always.
I'm
Nice to
talking
meet you
about
too, Rob.
fictionalized storytelling. All right. Hey, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Michael Bell. Thank you,
Always a
Rob.
pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a great time. We'll do it again. You guys have a great, fun, and creative week, and I will see you next week here on Coastal A&E on TV Delmarva.